And then she was like, I also have the gender. Do you want me to tell you the gender? And to, to say the least, we were both extremely surprised. Hi. Wow, has it been a while. Today I kind of just wanted to do like a first trimester recap because it has been so long since I filmed anything. So the last video that you guys saw on my channel was me finding out that I was pregnant, but that was back in December. It is now March 27th. So I kind of just want to catch you up on what's been going on, how life has been lately. So as of today, March 27th, I am exactly 6 weeks pregnant, so 4 months along now. That seems crazy to say. I'm well into my second trimester at this point. I guess first of all, let me just address the change of scenery. This is my new car. I bought this car in January. I was able to pick it up on January 19th. So I was around 6 weeks pregnant, I think, at that point. And let me just say that the first trimester was the most miserable experience of my entire life, hence why I'm just now filming an update. I'll kind of get more into that, but I kind of want to do like a chronological order type video so that it's not so confusing. Whenever I was recording those videos for finding out I was pregnant, I hadn't even missed my period yet. So I was like, I think I ended on 11 DPO. So like December 30th-ish. Around 5 weeks, 4 days, my nausea started to get really bad. That's not something that I had experienced the first time around. I did have nausea in my first pregnancy, but I only was nauseous for maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks-ish, and it was never nearly as bad as what I've experienced this time around. I never actually threw up when I was pregnant the first time. I was like very nauseous still, but never to the point of actually throwing up. This time, I could not tell you how many times I've thrown up. I threw up this morning and I'm 16 weeks today. The past couple days I've been getting nauseous at night, but for some reason today I'm just not feeling good at all. So it's kind of been like, I'll have a bunch of good days in a row and really think that I'm starting to come through it. And then out of nowhere, I'll have a couple of bad days in terms of nausea. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So picked up my car on January 19th, and then pretty much from that point on, I was bedridden. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't leave the house. I didn't clean. I didn't cook. I barely ate anything. It was a rough 3.5 months, to say the least. I pretty much had Elijah doing everything for me. Like, he was getting all of the groceries, picking up after me and the dogs, taking care of the house, going to work. Even with my work, I got so behind on making videos because I couldn't sit at my desk for longer than 45 minutes without throwing up. I'm still that way. It's kind of like a motion sickness type thing where when I'm watching the videos on the screen for too long, I get like motion sick. I find now that I get car sick only if I'm riding in the passenger seat, really. I do sometimes kind of get a little bit nauseous if I'm driving for a long period of time, but it's not nearly as bad as it is if I'm sitting in the passenger seat. I've never really had an issue with getting car sick, especially not in the front seat. Maybe if I were in the back seat, but it's not really like a chronic issue for me. But since being pregnant, I cannot be in the car in the passenger seat for longer than 15 minutes without throwing up. And it's like the whole ride I'm throwing up. So you can imagine going to doctor's appointments has not been fun because our OB is like an hour and 15 minutes from the house. So anytime we have an appointment, I have to either drive or get violently sick all the way there. Not fun. We had our first appointment on January 25th, so I was 7 weeks and 2 days along. And I do have the ultrasound from that appointment. So baby was the size of a blueberry at 7 weeks. The appointment went really good. I can insert a little video of us getting our first ultrasound with this baby.
This is exciting.
Yeah, this is definitely.
It's nice to be on this side.
Yeah, nice to be on this side of it.
All right, so I'm getting 7 weeks 1 day, which is very close to your dates, which is perfect.
Yeah.
142, that's great.
Oh, yay.
All right. So far, everything's looking really good, though. Our dates are lining up, and heart rate is really good. Looks like baby probably came from this left side.
Mm-hmm.
You felt it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I feel it every time.
A lot of people do. How do you know that? So I don't know if you can kind of see like the faint little cyst right here, but that's very normal. The corpus luteum, where the egg comes from, and then we put color on. Usually there's like a good amount of blood flow around that cyst, which you can kind of see it all there. There we go. That's a little bit more clear. That's a good one.
Yeah.
They're so good.
So as you can see, everything looked much better than it did the first time around with Sweet Pea. There was a fetal pole, there was a heartbeat. The heart rate was 142 with the tracing that they did. Placement in the uterus looked really, really good. I was measuring right on track. I was measuring, I think, 7 weeks one day, but right on track. And that was the first time that we had ever gotten printouts from the OB, because they do not give printouts if there's no heartbeat at the first appointment. And Sweet Pea did not have a heartbeat or a fetal pole. So that appointment went really good, and we were like crying at the fact that there was actually a heartbeat. Like, it just seems so optimistic. Even from like the first few tests that I took in my finding out I was pregnant video, I could tell that this baby just seemed really, really strong from the very beginning. My tests were always really, really dark, consistently getting darker every 2 days. My symptoms have been kicking my butt for the past 4 months. Baby is just really strong and going good in there. So we're really happy about that. And even though the symptoms have been really bad and really, really miserable for me, it is reassuring that thy symptoms are so strong and the pregnancy seems to be strong as well and progressing nicely. So as far as that goes, everything has been good at all of my appointments. So in February, we had an insurance issue, and you can kind of like see me and Elijah discussing it at the very end of my finding out I was pregnant video, because he switched jobs like right before I found out I was pregnant. Like the day that I found out, he was like calling and telling his job that he was going to put in his 2 weeks. So he ended up switching jobs, which means he lost his insurance from the previous job, and then he couldn't sign up for insurance for his new job for like 60 days, I think. For the entire month of February, I did not have insurance. So our insurance lapsed on January 31st, and then I was supposed to have an appointment with my OB on like the 22nd of February, but obviously that wasn't going to work because they wanted to do a lot of blood work and a lot of tests and things that were going to be very expensive if they weren't covered by insurance. So we decided to push it back a couple days so that my insurance could kick in again, because I just bought like a single month's worth of insurance just for me for the month of March. So March 1st through the end of March, I still am on that single month of insurance program for just me, but his insurance with his new job will kick in on April 1st. So hopefully we'll be out of the weird insurance issues here soon. But because of that, I had to push my next appointment back to the 2nd of March. By that time, I was already 12 weeks and 3 days pregnant. So I don't have any recordings from that day because driving up there, I threw up 3 times in the car, and it was just a miserable experience driving up there. And then we were in like a smaller room because we were at the other location for our OB, so I don't think we were allowed to record in there or anything. I hadn't even thought about picking up the GoPro from like 5 weeks, 4 days on, because I was just so miserable. So there's not very much like footage of me really doing anything. I did a weekly update on TikTok just so you guys can get a feel of like a weekly basis of what I was experiencing. That's mainly the reason I wanted to do it, because I just had no energy to record anything longer than like 10 seconds. That's pretty much what I did. So every week I would just record a little segment on how I was doing that week and how baby was doing. But I just kind of wanted to explain why there's not very much footage of the first trimester of my pregnancy. My appointment on the 2nd of March also went really good. We didn't do an ultrasound. I haven't had an ultrasound since the first one at 7 weeks. I don't think my next ultrasound will be until our anatomy scan, which is honestly crazy to even think about, but I'll be booking my anatomy scan here in the next few days. So absolutely crazy to think that I'll be making an appointment for halfway through my pregnancy at this point. So crazy to think that, but at that appointment, we basically just listened to the heartbeat with a Doppler, and they took my weight and everything. At my first appointment, I had told my OB that I was feeling really, really nauseous and I wasn't able to keep really anything down. So she had prescribed me an anti-nausea medication, just like a pill basically. And she had also given me like a little sample bottle of Blongesta, which is like a name brand anti-nausea medicine for pregnancy, and I find that the Bonjesta does work better. Bonjesta name brand is just more expensive than what she prescribed me, but I also have found that the prescription just doesn't work as well for me as name brand Bonjesta. It really was pointless for me to even have it anyway, because with my sensory needs and issues being autistic, I can't swallow pills without food, and if I can't take a big enough bite of food to even think about swallowing the pill, then it does me no good. At my next appointment on the 2nd of March, I told the nurse practitioner that I was having a lot of trouble even considering taking my anti-nausea medicine because they were pill form. I couldn't even take my prenatal. Like, I feel so guilty saying this, but I couldn't take my prenatal. I couldn't take anything. Like, if I was going to eat something, it had to be a craving, like something I was craving right then and there, and I had to eat only that. And that was the only way that I could eat for at least 10 or 11 straight weeks. And at my first appointment, when they weighed me, I didn't look right away because I knew I get triggered by my weight just from past experiences. So I tend to not look when I go to the doctor's office because it doesn't really, I'm not prepared to look at it at that point, and it doesn't really matter. But when I went to look at my blood work or my test results, I saw my weight for my first appointment. So I'm going to tell you, I started pre-pregnancy around 202 pounds, which my heaviest weight, obviously wasn't happy at that weight, but that's the weight that I was just after my first pregnancy. And then when I went to my appointment on the 25th of January, I was already down to 191 with all my clothes on. So by the time I went to my second appointment, I was already down to 175 pounds. I had already lost by that point around 27 pounds just from being so incredibly sick, throwing up all the time, couldn't keep food or water down for that matter. I was severely dehydrated, absolutely miserable. I considered going to the ER multiple times for Zofran and fluids because I was absolutely miserable, and I was getting to the point where my vitamin deficiency was getting so bad that my legs would have cramps in them all the time. I had restless legs. I couldn't move without exhausting myself, without getting super out of breath and like getting sore muscles and cramps. I couldn't do anything. I was bedbound basically. She prescribed me something else. Unfortunately though, it was promethazine, which makes me sleepy, obviously. If you've ever had promethazine, an anti-nausea med, it works. It just also knocks you out. It's kind of like Benadryl, you know, like you can't have an allergic reaction if you're sleeping, you know, type thing. Can't be nauseous if you're sleeping. So anytime that I was, you know, miserable enough to take the promethazine, it would also make me super exhausted. So anytime I would have to go out in public and run errands, I would take one and I would just be exhausted the whole time, like barely keeping my eyes open. But whenever they did measure the heart rate at my appointment on the 2nd of March, heart rate was, I think, 167. So really, really good for 12 weeks, 3 days. Aside from me losing a whole bunch of weight all at once and being super nauseous and sick all the time, everything else was fine. That appointment, they also did my NIPT testing. So NIPT is a genetic test where they screen for aneuploidy, so trisomy 13, 18, 21, and then they check the sex chromosome, so it will tell you the gender if you want them to. Also, typically included in that is a carrier screening for mom or whoever is pregnant. They actually forgot to do that for me when they did the NIPT testing, so at my next appointment, which is the 30th of March, in a couple days, I will be getting more blood work done for my carrier screening. So they'll test me for any genetic carrier diseases that I could possibly pass on to this baby or any future children that we decide to have. I'm not expecting there to be anything genetically that I am dispositioned for or that I'm a carrier for that I could pass on, but considering our history of loss, I just would like to know, and if they're going to include it, then why not? Also, because of my weight and my BMI, they told me at my first appointment that I am at higher risk for preeclampsia and gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes is kind of like a precursor that makes you more prone to preeclampsia in the first place. They told me that I would need to start baby aspirin between 12 and 16 weeks, which I've already started. They wanted to do the glucose test early just to check for gestational diabetes, which they typically don't do, I think, in a normal pregnancy, but I think they do it between like 24 and 28 weeks, but they wanted me to do it at 12. But by the time that I had driven all the way up there, I'd already thrown up 3 times, and we just thought that there was no way for me to keep down the drink for me to even try to do the glucose testing. So I think we're gonna do that at this appointment in the next few days. So I'm expecting this appointment to be the glucose testing and my carrier screening and probably just check on baby. So it's going to be kind of a long appointment because I think you have to wait an hour to get your blood drawn after you drink the glucose drink. So, and I think this is the first solo appointment I'm going to be on because Elijah has to work and he can't get out of it at this point. So also the 30th of March is our 9-year anniversary, dating anniversary. We got married in October, but we were like anticipating having like a day where we could go check on baby and then, you know, have fun in Knoxville or whatever. But looks like that won't be the case, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, that whole day was just absolutely chaotic in the worst way. I had rescheduled my appointment for that day for like 2 or 3 separate times because of my insurance situation. So they had me going to the smaller location where my OB kind of rotates between. We had an issue trying to figure out where that one was because the way that they described it, there was no like, I think they said the northeast location, but there was no location on Google described as the northeast location. So we ended up going to the wrong place the first time, and then we got to the right place. They squeezed us in for our appointment. Then it turns out that they didn't have the NIPT kit that they use to draw your blood and like send it off to Natera or whatever the third-party company is that does the testing. So we had to drive to the main location anyway to have my blood drawn there and then drive back home. But the problem was we got done with our appointment at like 11 and the larger location closes between 12 and 1 for lunch. So we had to like rush over to the larger location, get my blood drawn really quick, and then leave before their lunch started. So it was absolutely chaotic, not to mention the fact that I was throwing up all day that day. I had thrown up so many times that day that the only thing coming up by the end of it was like straight stomach acid, and it physically burned the back of my throat when it came up the last time. It's so gross, I know. It literally like it got caught in my throat and it burned my throat, like my esophagus. Like my esophagus, like the back of my throat was like corroded from the stomach acid, and it hurt so bad. It lasted at least a week of like trying to heal the back of my throat. But yeah, absolutely miserable experience, unfortunately. But yeah, and then in the midst of all that, trying to like reorganize the house and make room for the nursery and everything else. So we got the NIPT testing back, I think like 6 days after my blood draw. We got my blood drawn on 3/2, and then the results came back I think 3/8, which was a Wednesday. So we weren't expecting them to come back that fast. We weren't like planning on doing a big gender reveal or anything, but we kind of just wanted to do like a little video announcement so that we could send it out to everyone. So they ended up calling me. Elijah was off this day, but he had gone to run errands. So they ended up calling me in the middle of the day, like 12 o'clock. I answered because I was expecting the NIPT results, and she said, first and foremost, baby is fine. There's no genetic anomalies with baby. Negative for trisomy 13, 18, and 21, which is Down syndrome. And then she was like, I also have the gender. Do you want me to tell you the gender? And I was like, well, my husband's not here, so I don't want to find out like without him. So I guess just maybe like send it in the mail or something. And she was like, okay, that's fine. So I get off the phone with her, and then Elijah calls me like literally 10 minutes later and is like, hey, I stopped by Starbucks and I got you some food and I'm on my way home. And I was like, you literally just missed the call from the doctor with the genetic results, like with the gender. He was like, no way. He's like, did you find out? I was like, no, I didn't find out. I'm like waiting to find out with you. And he was like, okay. So he got home like 20 minutes after they had called me, and at that point I'd already told her to send the gender in the mail. But he was like, no, I don't want to wait, like I want to know right now. Call them back or something. And I was like, no, I don't want to call them back. I think I can just log into my patient portal and look at my results online. He was like, okay. So we sat down and just together had like a little intimate like gender reveal between the two of us. I didn't record it or anything. Just logged into my patient portal and scrolled where it said gender, and then it said note. So you click on the note and then it showed us what the gender was. And to say the least, we were both extremely surprised. I feel like I kind of had an intuition, but I didn't want to assume one way or the other. At that point we knew what baby was. So we decided that we were gonna go to Party City and get some of those confetti cannons or like some sort of like gender reveal cannon, and then go go over to my parents' house and record a gender reveal video, because we told everybody that we knew the gender, but we didn't tell them what it was. So everybody was like so excited, like, please, I want to know right now, tell me the gender right now. Headed over to my parents' house, and it was super cold outside, but I have the video of us doing the gender reveal, so I'll go ahead and insert the video of our gender reveal right here. Everyone's last guesses.
I still say girl.
Girl?
I think we all say that it's a girl still.
Girl.
Girl.
For sure.
Girl.
Everybody still says girl. Except for Memo Debbie. Memo Debbie said boy.
Memo Debbie says boy? I think we both thought boy.
I think we both did. Everybody on my side thinks boy.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
We knew.
I don't know how we knew. But we knew.
I
told
knew
you.
because I had dreams both ways, but the majority of the dreams were girl.
That was a lot more confetti than I thought it'd be.
I know, that's a lot of confetti. So I posted a reel of this on my YouTube already, but as you can tell, baby is a girl. After we did the gender reveal, we sent the video to everyone, like our close family, before we announced on social media, so they would all know first. But we were just over the moon excited. I was secretly hoping for a girl, so I was super excited, obviously, but Elijah and his whole family was like assuming it was going to be a boy, because pretty much everyone on his side only has boys. But I had been having recurrent dreams that baby was a girl, and I did have one dream where we found out baby was a boy, but then I ended up not believing, like dream me did not believe it, so I ended up doing an ultrasound on myself, and at that point in my dream I was further along and I could see on the ultrasound that baby was a girl. I had some very weird vivid dreams of like finding out baby's gender, and it was always a girl. I kind of had an intuition, and it seemed like whenever I would want to refer to baby, I would instinctively want to use she, her pronouns, but I don't know, I couldn't figure out why. I was like, I don't know. In terms of old wives' tales, I had a pretty good mixture of both possibilities of gender. Obviously, I was super sick all the time, so old wives' tale would say that's a girl, but I was also craving salty and sweet foods, like mainly sweet foods, but I was also craving a lot of salt too, which is like traditionally boy. I think we did the Chinese gender chart, which said girl, so we kind of had some mixed results, and honestly, I just really had no idea. Instinctively I wanted to say girl, but that was kind of like I wasn't gonna accept that. So because I wanted it to be a girl, I was just assuming that it would be a boy, which is fine. I was fine with either one, but I just felt like, I don't know, everybody was assuming it was gonna be a boy, so I was like, well, it's probably a boy. But we're super excited. We've obviously gotten used to referring to baby as she at this point, because we've known for, let's see, I found out at 13 weeks, we're at 16, so we've already known for 3 weeks baby's gender. We also have her name picked out at this point. I'm not going to share that right now, but our close friends and family do know her name. I've already ordered a name sign for the hospital when she's born, and we've gotten some nursery items for her already at this point. I will do a whole separate nursery reveal video probably. Right now her nursery is just full of like boxed up stuff and clothes and a mixture of her stuff and our stuff, so it's kind of a mess in there right now, but that goes for like our whole house. We've tried to downsize and get rid of a lot of clutter items and things that we're just not using, and trying to make space in the house for all the baby stuff, so that in and of itself has been a whole project. Because of that, all of my stuff is all over the place, so we got rid of our 2 big dressers, and so my clothes and makeup and everything is just totally out of order and all over the place and not organized at all, hence why I've not gotten ready for a video. But yeah, everything is kind of crazy in our house right now. So we do have 2 bassinets, although one of them Elijah doesn't like, so I think we're gonna sell that one. We also have her rocking chair at this point, and we have so many clothes, it's absolutely ridiculous. And then we've got her bookshelf and some books that we bought before we were pregnant with her. We've also got like a little play mat for her for tummy time. So those are just a few of the things that we already have for her, but we're planning on going at some point and getting her crib and her changing table and something to put her clothes in, because we already have so many clothes for her. And then we're gonna move our stuff out of that room and upstairs to our bedroom. So there's a whole lot of reorganizing that needs to be done in the house, but I've been sick and not really have had much energy, so that has been put on hold. I will say though that around 14.5 weeks or so, I started to feel less nauseous. I did have a few days in between where I was really, really bad. I was throwing up like 3 and 4 times and sick all day, which is what I'm having today. But in terms of the nausea decreasing, it definitely has. I've definitely had more consistent good days in a row. Starting at around 15 and a half weeks, I started to have more energy too. So that's been really nice, and I have been able to get some things done around the house. So finally been able to clean again. I was able to actually like sweep and mop and do the dishes and like cook. So it's been really nice. I'm hoping that continues and my nausea from today will go away at some point. But yeah, I think that's everything that I have to update you guys on as of right now. At this point, I'm well into the 2nd trimester, but I probably will make a 2nd trimester video recap. Editing is still kind of hard though because of the like motion sickness aspect of it, so I can only edit for short periods at a time. So I'm not sure when this video will go out or the preceding videos that I have planned, but I will do my best, and I'm also trying to catch up on work for the other channels, so there's a lot going on right now. A lot of stuff needs to be done. As far as future video plans, I do have obviously the nursery reveal, her name reveal. I want to do a couple of other videos. I wanted to do a line progression video with our pregnancy tests, although some of them have been destroyed by the dogs because we did get a new puppy when I was like 6.5 weeks pregnant, and it's just been a wild ride. Now we have Mila and Bear, both miniature wiener dogs. Taking care of both of them while I was having such a hard time taking care of myself was a whole task in and of itself. So some of the tests have been destroyed by Bear because when we were moving things around, we had moved the little box of tests to the floor, and subsequently he had gotten into the box of tests. So some of them are chewed up, but I do hopefully have enough pictures of right after I took them to be able to insert them and like kind of give you guys an idea of what the progression looks like when they were fresh anyway, because at this point they are like 3 months old, 4 months old. So I have that video planned. I've had that video planned for a while, and I wanted to do it way sooner than this, but unfortunately I just was not feeling up to the task of doing much of anything, let alone recording. So I have that video planned in the back of my mind. I had recorded some of the reactions of telling people that we were pregnant, but I did like a little short video, YouTube short, of some of the reactions, so some of that is already up on my channel. And then I'm not sure how much I want to record of the birth. Probably not the actual birth itself. If I do record that, I don't think I'm gonna put that on YouTube. At least maybe some of like progression leading up to it, maybe some hospital footage and stuff, and then maybe us going home. But yeah, also I have some clips of us finding baby's heart rate with the home Doppler, so I can insert some of those in this video as well. It's been really nice and really reassuring to be able to use the Doppler at home and find her heartbeat, because it's just my anxiety that comes along with pregnancy after loss for both of us. We were able to find her heart rate, I think 14 weeks and 6 days, like right before I was 15 weeks. And we've been doing it once a week, so we found her again, I think I was 15 weeks, 6 days, so right before 16 weeks. And she had moved around the second time, so she was like kind of over here closer to my right side, like by my hip the first time, and then the second time she'd moved like right in the center, like midline of my belly. So it was a little bit harder to find her the second time, but we did. Also, since I want to say around 15 weeks, I thought I was feeling movement. I don't know where my placenta is, like in terms of whether or not it's feasible for me to even be feeling movement at this point, but I'm assuming based on where I had the implantation cramping, it might be towards the back or like maybe towards the top. I obviously haven't had that checked. I'm hoping that either on the day of my anatomy scan or a little bit before they'll tell me where my placenta is. I was feeling kind of like this weird twitching, like almost like the muscle of my uterus is like reacting to like her moving, and then I was kind of feeling like this brushing, like something was brushing up against the inside of my uterus. Super weird feeling. But then as I got closer to 16 weeks, I was like fairly sure that I'm feeling her, because it's almost like some of them are kind of like a popcorn feeling, like a little pop on the inside, and then others are like full-blown, like feels like she's turning in there. So I'm relatively sure that I'm already feeling movement, which is like super reassuring at this point, because a lot of people say that depending on where your placenta is, you might start feeling movement between 16 and 24 weeks. Feeling movement at this point is really reassuring for me, and maybe I won't have to use the Doppler so much to feel reassured. But yeah, that's just the nature of pregnancy after loss. So if you've ever experienced loss or know someone who has, the anxiety around it is really rough, and it's something I would never wish on anyone, because this whole pregnancy has just been never-ending anxiety about baby and me, and you know, if something's missed and my appointments being so far apart from each other, and you know, everything. So I do want to mention too that since I've been feeling better, I've been feeling better for about a week and a half, but I've had some days off and on in there. But since I've been feeling better, I have gained back a pound of the 30 that I lost. By about 13 and a half weeks, the weight loss total was 29 to 30 pounds for me, because I still wasn't able to really eat anything at 13 weeks. And then 14 and a half, I started feeling better. So I've only gained a pound back from what I lost. But as far as healthy weight gain, especially for someone in my BMI range, about a pound a week I think would be fine for the rest of the pregnancy. So things are looking good in terms of me gaining weight normally and steadily and in a healthy way. So if I were to gain a pound a week, I might gain, I don't know, 22, 24 pounds, which that's totally normal. So I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. If I am, I will put a text on the screen or insert maybe like a voiceover or something if I need to include something else. As far as that goes, I think that's everything. I think I'm going to try to finish the rest of my food, even though I'm not feeling very good. We'll try to get this video out and get caught up on some things and go home and relax a little bit. So thank you guys so much for watching. Baby girl and I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!